All right, today we're going to break down what's being called one of the largest and, frankly, most dangerous supply chain attacks in JavaScript history. We're talking about a self-replicating worm that literally weaponizes the very tools developers like you use every single day.
So just imagine this for a second. You're doing a totally normal NPM install, and behind the scenes, a hidden script is quietly ripping every single API key it can find right out of your CI pipeline. And then, it just dumps them into a public repo for anyone to grab. Now, this isn't some horror story I'm making up. For hundreds of developers, and yeah, some of the biggest names in tech, this became their reality.
I mean, the scale of this thing is just staggering. Security teams are tracking over 800 compromised NPM packages. Yeah, you heard that right, 800. These weren't new, sketchy packages either. These were trusted libraries that got Trojanized by this worm, turning them into malicious payloads. And the fallout from those 800 packages? It gets even bigger. This whole campaign led to the creation of more than 25,000 public GitHub repositories. Each one of them basically acted as a public drop zone for all the stolen API keys, tokens, and other secrets, just out there in the open.
And if you really want to understand the potential reach, just give a load of this number. The affected packages, all combined, account for over 132 million monthly downloads. I'm going to say that again, 132 million every single month. That's millions of installs potentially executing malicious code. With that kind of reach, it's pretty clear this wasn't just another piece of malware. Oh no, this was an evolution.
So let's talk about this new kind of threat. The campaign got this epic nickname, Shai-Hulud, the second coming, a little nod to Dune for those of you who are fans. And it really does represent a huge leap forward in supply chain threats. See, it doesn't just infect a system and stop. It actively uses that system to spread itself, turning the very foundation of open source trust completely on its head. Okay, so what exactly are we dealing with here? Let's just quickly define a software supply chain attack. Basically, it's a strategy that targets the components of your software, the libraries, the build tools, not the final product itself. Think of it like poisoning the well, not just the cup of water you draw from it.
Here's a really simple way to think about it. Attack the ingredients, not the restaurant. Imagine an attacker poisons a big batch of flour at the factory. Now, every single restaurant that buys that flour is serving poisoned bread, right? It doesn't matter if they have the most secure, spotless kitchen in the world. The damage is already done. And that, in a nutshell, is exactly what Shai-Hulud did to the JavaScript ecosystem. All right, now for the really scary part. How this thing spreads. What makes this worm so incredibly dangerous isn't just that it infects a target. No, it's that it's designed for exponential growth. It literally turns every single victim into a new attacker. And the infection chain is just devastatingly effective. Check this out. Step 1, an attacker gets access to a developer's NPM account. Step 2, they publish a new infected version of a totally legitimate package. Step 3, you or another developer run a normal NPM install, and bam, the hidden code executes. And then, step 4, the malware steals your tokens and immediately uses them to publish more infected packages under your name. The cycle just repeats and the worm spreads like wildfire. But here's the thing. This wasn't the first time we'd seen this worm. The version that popped up in November, the one they called the second coming, was a massive, massive escalation from the first wave they saw just a couple months before. Let's really dig into how this thing evolved. You can see the evolution so clearly when you put them side by side. The attackers learned from their first attempt and came back way more sophisticated. They swapped out standard Node.js for a custom bun runtime. That's a huge deal for avoiding detection. The payload went from just stealing credentials to theft plus persistence and destruction. They moved from post-install to pre-install scripts to run even earlier. And the way they snuck the data out went from noisy and easy to spot to quiet and randomized. Just an upgrade across the board. I mean, this new variant was just so much more advanced. It used this bring-your-own runtime trick with Bun to completely evade security tools that were only watching Node.js. It burrowed into CI/CD pipelines, creating its own malicious GitHub actions and runners. It executed super early with pre-install scripts, running before security tools could even scan the dependencies. And it had this polymorphic propagation thing, where it would automatically find and infect up to 20 other packages the victim maintained. Just relentless. And maybe the most alarming new feature of all was this scorched earth dead man's switch. Get this. If the malware couldn't phone home to exfiltrate your data, let's say it's blocked by a firewall,
It was programmed to just try and delete your entire home directory. It's a brutal, if I can't have your stuff, nobody can tactic. Just wow.
So, let's talk about the blast radius. Because this wasn't some theoretical attack hitting a few obscure packages nobody uses. No, the damage was enormous, and it hit names that you definitely know and probably use.
Take a look at this. This is just a small sample of the official packages from Zapier that were compromised. We're not talking about some side project here. These are core SDKs and CLIs that thousands of developers rely on every day to build their automations and integrations.
And Zapier was far from alone. The victim list reads like a who's who of modern dev tools. You've got ENS domains, which is critical for the whole crypto space. You've got PostHog for analytics, Postman for APIs. I mean, this attack hit foundational, mission-critical tools across the entire tech landscape.
Okay, so that brings us to probably the most important part of all this. What you and your team should be doing about this. Right now, this is your defensive playbook. Security researchers have laid out a pretty clear 4-step plan. Number 1, audit your dependencies. Search your log files, use tools like npm audit, and look for any of these affected packages. Number 2, and this one is absolutely critical, rotate all your secrets. Just assume anything in your CI environment is compromised. Don't wait, do it now. 3, hunt for the artifacts. Search your GitHub org for any malicious repos, weird workflows, or those runners named Shai-Hulud. And finally, number 4, harden your pipelines. That means disabling lifecycle scripts in CI wherever you can, and this is a big one, pinning your dependencies to specific safe versions. That way you don't accidentally pull in a malicious update. Okay, let's just zoom out for a second and think about the new reality for us as developers. Because an attack like this, it fundamentally changes the game. It forces all of us to reconsider the implicit trust that the entire open source ecosystem is built on. What this really signals is the death of reputation as a form of security. We used to think, oh, it's from a trusted brand, it must be safe. But this attack proves that a package from a huge company is only as secure as the credentials of its least secure maintainer. Once one of those accounts gets compromised, that big, shiny brand name, it means absolutely nothing. And that leaves us with a really provocative question, right? In a world of weaponized trust, what does a zero-trust build pipeline even look like? If we have to assume that any dependency could turn malicious at any time, how do we fundamentally rethink and rebuild our development pipelines for this new reality? It's a huge challenge for all of us going forward.